Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, and one of my favorite things to do in Destiny, it's always been, is to look at weapons, look at stats, compare weapons. I also like to try to find out and uncover some of the mechanics in Destiny. So this video is going to be very stat heavy. I'm going to go ahead and warn you ahead of time, it's going to be very stat heavy. So with the addition of custom games, I can test out some of these weapons, I can test out distances, some of the things I've always wanted to test, but also get some numbers and get some evidence of some of the things that I've always wanted to try to uncover. So with this video, I would like to lay the groundwork for many more, and for some of you content creators out there, maybe we can come together and figure it all out. So I have the information for what I believe, and is my opinion, to be exactly some of the things that have been talked about. We just need to tie it all together. I've chosen the Eyasluna, and I chose this weapon for a couple of reasons. Number one, ghost bullets. So there's a lot of people, it's a big discussion. I see some people say, oh, that's never happened to me, you just can't aim, things like that. And to those people, point them in the direction of this video if they ever say that to you. But with Eyasluna, a lot of players are using it right now, a lot of players are looking for it, mostly because of the range, rifled barrel or reinforced barrel, a range stat. My goal is to break down the Eyasluna, but more importantly, try to understand that range stat. And what we know about the range stat is accuracy, initial, final accuracy, aim assist, all of that is buried within the range stat. So there's a link in the description to Planet Destiny's video with Crucible Radio talking with Bungie. They say that range is visualized as a cone, it radiates out the barrel of your gun, and the better the range, the further the cone goes out, the narrower the cone is. In the cone, accuracy, aim assist, damage drop-off, starting and falling, it's all in that range stat. And accuracy is a big part of that range cone. So initial accuracy, final accuracy, the first bullet that you fire, they say that after the first bullet that you fire, the cone blooms out. If you keep firing, the cone keeps widening. So if you're spamming a hand cannon, if you keep firing, the cone will bloom out fast, it'll stay wide, but if you pace your shots, the cone goes back down, is more reliable. But with that statement, they say that's primarily affecting HipFire. Generic accuracy is mostly firing from the hip, but they also have aim down sights accuracy, and it basically works the same, but the bloom is clamped, it's tight. They ask players to slow down, pace your shots, and they're going to reward you for precision. And they say that accuracy bonuses are mostly going to be from the hip though. But that's not the tell-all of this story. Aim down sights accuracy is affected, but differently, and that's what we're going to talk about today. A couple things that stood out were things like maybe a sight giving aim assist to a weapon. They say that the way that the perk gives you a buff is going to be tied into that range stat somehow. So those are little hidden bonuses within the range stat. Bungie, they have their secret sauce. They say it, and it's one of the things that makes a Bungie game a Bungie game. There's things that we're never going to know, but we can start diving into those mechanics and start trying to figure stuff out. Here is something that has always stood out to me from that interview, and we're going to go over it multiple times in this particular video. So they say there is a point where we can define optimal range, and there's a point where we say, okay, we can start damage fall off here, and then the end of your cone is way out here, and any target that is within the fall off to the end is going to get a less than optimal experience. There is more to that sentence. There's another part of that sentence, and we're going to get to that shortly, so here we go. For my testing, I have numerous Eyaslunas, and all of them have the quick draw sight on to keep it kind of the same. I have range bonuses for all of them, including rangefinder. So in PvP, the Eyasluna does 86 to the head. And real quickly, here are the numbers associated with the Eyasluna. These are the maximum distances in which, after that number, you will start experiencing damage drop-off. The base range with no range perks whatsoever, the maximum damage ends at 27 meters. After 27 meters, the 86 will start having fall off. So the stat bar is going to be on the left, and the actual distance is going to be on the right. So again, base, 38, 27 meters. Hand loaded bumps the stat to 44, it's 28 meters. Small bore, 47 on the stat bar, 28.5 meters. Rifled barrel and reinforced barrel go to 62, and that is 31 meters. Rangefinder without any range perks bumps the base 27 to 29 meters, and rifled barrel or reinforced barrel plus rangefinder is 34 meters. We're going to be focusing on the rifled or reinforced barrel. That is the 62 on the range stat, and as most players are wanting, and most players have, an Eyasluna like this. So right here is the maximum distance for a visual with the Eyasluna with reinforced or rifled. This is 31 meters, and if you take any step backwards, you will experience damage drop-off. When I was getting the range distances, I started noticing a couple things, and then it turned out to what I believe is the maximum distance for the cones. Now, the two things I'm talking about is HipFire accuracy and aim down sights accuracy in relation to the range stat. The two things that we cannot see that are in-game on Bungie's side is we don't know where the bullet's going to go, and we don't know how much bloom is active when you start spamming the weapon and where that bullet goes. And those two things are kind of tied together. But I do believe we can see exactly where you start and lose effectiveness, and that's what this video is about. Notice how the reticle is red when I'm looking at my friend here. It's red. I'm aiming from the hip. Keep in mind, that's an important part. I'm aiming at the hip. So as I move away, the red goes away into a white color. But I add a little range stat. I add reinforced rifled barrel. I add a range stat to it. The red comes back and extends the distance a couple meters. So that's a correlation. Range directly impacts this. So I add range, the red comes back. So I did some testing on other weapons for that HipFire cone. Like, we'll take the perk Underdog here. It gives a range bonus when your health is low to range and handling. So we have the hung jury. We have aiming down sights, it's red. I move a little bit further, it's white. I get down to one shot, but Underdog kicks in and the red comes back. There's that bonus to range. So when red, I believe that this is the maximum effectiveness of the cone, in which everything in that range stat is in your favor. So the distance is 22 meters with no range perks, and right here I have on rifled barrel with the maximum range, the hipfire effectiveness is 27 meters, in which that red is there. Then I started to wonder, what about aim down sights effectiveness, aim down sights cone, and yes, you can visually see that cone effectiveness in game too. So to where that cone stops, I mean, as I said earlier, I have on rifled barrel, the maximum range is 31 meters in which I do 86 damage. I'm going to bring up that quote again, and we're going to do it a couple more times. We're going to break it down step by step, and then once it's all broken down, we're going to have a summary with that representation, and it's all going to make sense. There's a point to where we can find optimal range. Well, the extended optimal range is right here, 31 meters. And then there's a point where we say, okay, we start fall off here, and then the end of your cone is way out here, and any target within the fall off to the end is going to experience less than an optimal experience. But the final part to that is left out, outside of the cone, right? So fall off to the cone, then outside the cone, further than the cone. You're simply out of range right there, and that's one of the most important parts that we're going to talk about today. Outside of the cone, you have severe changes. So in that sentence, he says, the cone is way out here. I thought about it, so here's what I did. And this is what I found to believe the aim down sights cone, the aim down sights accuracy cone, range cone, right? So this changes as you add and take away that range. It gets further, it gets closer, but it's all tied to the actual range stat. So what I did was I went in and out of sights very quickly. As you can see, there's that red cone again. It's showing back up, but the further you go away, the red cone starts to turn white. It's kind of blended together. Now at the very end, the redness, it goes completely away. It's no longer red and white, it is solid white. That point is 40 meters. It's actually like high 39s, but we round to 40. But at 40 meters, you do 68 damage. But that number can show up as 68, 69, or 70 damage because the damage drop-off for hand cannons is so severe. As you inch closer or away from your target, those numbers can change 68, 69, 70, but 68 is the absolute end at 40 meters. Past this point, you can feel it yourself, and I encourage you guys to try it. Once you're outside the aim down sights, once it's all white, when you start going in and out and it's all white, you lose pretty much all effectiveness of it, all of it. Your aim assist or the stickiness of your aim is severely reduced to almost non-existent. And you can try it. Step back into that, look around, acquire your target, look at him, move your target around him, and then get back in the red and do the same thing. You actually feel the difference. So this is where I'm getting. Let's go ahead and go through this one more time, but in a summary. There's a point to where we can define optimal range. So optimal range is 31 meters. So from 31 meters on in to your target, you're going to hit maximum damage. And then there's a point where we say, okay, we can start fall off here. So again, that's 31 meters. Past 31 meters, you're going to experience that damage drop off. And then the end of your cone is way out here. Well, the end of that cone is 40 meters. Any target that is within the fall off to the end of the cone is going to get less than an optimal experience. So from 31 meters to 40 meters, you start losing that range stat. It starts becoming almost like a percentage as you get further out. You start losing the buffs of the stat. But the final part, again, is past the cone. Once you're past that cone, you really lose almost everything. You heavily lose them. At 40 meters, you do 68 damage with reinforced barrel or the rifled barrel Eyasluna. So if you see below 68 damage, you're outside of that cone. I did a small experiment. I shot 50 bullets aiming down sights at different ranges because I wanted to take this a little bit further. At 27 meters, and remember 27 is the end of that hipfire accuracy cone being red, I missed 3 out of 50, but everything was headshots. I moved to 28 meters, shot 50 bullets. I missed 3 again. Coincidence? Probably. But again, all of those were headshots that I hit. At 31 meters, which is fall off, the maximum distance, 8 of them were missed, but 3 were body shots. Outside of 31 meters, at about 32, 11 out of the 50 were missed, and 2 of those were body shots. I then moved to 40 meters where the aim down sights cone is completely white, and another important thing to remember about 40 meters, the red dot that you get when going for a headshot goes completely away. I missed 18 out of 50 shots, and half of those were body shots. And finally, I went a little past that cone at about 43 meters, and it wasn't even enough to even start tracking the stats. It was bad, it was gone, as you guys can see. So I hope that some of this made sense, guys. At first I wanted to get some ranges, but then I saw the cone, and then it turned into what we have today. It's something to build off of, and maybe hopefully some other people can add on this and maybe find out some more to it. But it's also important to note that the hand cannons have the worst bloom, they have some of the worst fall off, severe fall off. And they've always been a little bit of a mystery, so I really appreciate you guys watching and listening today. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.